how to submit and how to present a conference paper. You will be confronted to this problem quite quickly. If you go further, if you enroll into the PhD next year, PhD supervisors will probably ask you to present very quickly and to submit very quickly paper. So that is why it's important to have to pay attention to submit, first of all, to choose a right conference. This is the first step, and then to submit a conference paper, and then to present the conference paper. Which conferences do exist? This is a first choice that you have to do, because there are, in marketing, there are different academic marketing associations which are editing journals and which are also organizing conferences. And generally, the first step into a publication in a journal, in an academic journal, is to get accepted in the conference. And that's the objective of our lecture today, is to understand, first of all, which conferences exist, which conferences are also financed by TSM Research, because there are a certain number of conferences which are sponsored, which are paid, the travel cost and the cost of inscription. But these conferences are also chosen in terms of their quality. So it's important to know which conferences are the good conferences. And then I will give you some advice and some important points how to choose them, how to submit. Then I will present you the structure of the presentation, which is always the same. And I will give you a precise example of a conference presentation I did at the end, and even during the session. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me these questions. Which conference? So as I said, there are different associations. So for example, in marketing, you have our French Marketing Association, AFM, Association Française du Marketing. At the European level, you have the European Marketing Association, or European Marketing Academy, EMAC. On the US level, you have the American Marketing Association and the American Marketing Science Association. So they are editing very good journals, and perhaps I give you some details about that. So AFM is editing the French marketing journal RAM, Recherche et Application Marketing, and DM, Decision Marketing. So RAM is a 2-category journal, and DM is a 3-ranked journal. EMAC is editing IGRM, International Journal of Research and Marketing, which is an A journal. That's a very good journal. AMA is editing Journal of Marketing and Journal of Marketing Research. AMS, so Academy of Marketing Science, is editing Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science, and so also all A or even A+ journals. And you have, in the service domain, you have CERFSIC, which is the Community for Service Marketing Research, which is editing Journal of Service Research, which is also an A journal. The Marketing Science Institute is editing another A journal, Marketing Science. And finally, the Association for Consumer Research has a conference, is also editing a journal called Journal of Consumer Research. You see here directly that all these associations edit very good journals. And that is why these are also the conferences we recommend, because, as I said, there are a lot of conferences which are not really worthwhile. So that is why my first recommendation is limit yourself to them, because in any way you cannot go to all conferences. And even within these associations, you can only go to 1 or 2 for time reasons, but also for budget reasons. And so, for example, I'm in a French university, I'm naturally privileged for AFM because it's my local or national marketing community where I would like to be present, and where I meet my colleagues, and where we exchange research and opinions about research. And so, from my point of view, and a researcher who wants to stay in France, it makes absolutely sense to be present at the AFM annual conference and to submit a paper there, because it's also about socialization and networking. Because these conferences are not only to publish, this is naturally the main target, but these conferences are also there to create your brand image, to get you known about a topic, to make you seen. That is, that other researchers, other PhD students, but also other senior or junior researchers identify yourself on a topic. And even more important, in 3 or 4 years, you will have probably finished your PhD and you're on the job market. And it is important that during 3 years, you've presented papers, for example, at AFM, if you want to work in France, because then you're known. And when you apply in a university, this university or the colleagues of these universities know you. If you're not known, then it's absolutely not easy to apply. And that is why it's a kind of socialization. So if you want to stay in France, if the job market is clearly France, then AFM is absolutely important for publishing. Second, EMAC, beyond an international job market, the European academic community in marketing is very important. And at EMAC, you will meet colleagues from PhD and researchers, senior and junior researchers from Europe, mainly from France, but there are a lot of researchers from Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Spain. So it's a European market, but there are also a lot of Americans. The advantage is generally it is in Europe. So in terms of travel costs, it is affordable. And above all, there's a European job market. So if you're in the last year of the thesis, you can meet their future employers, because it's also important to know at all these conferences, you have a job market where you can meet universities that are recruiting researchers. At the EMAC website, you will see one page about the job market and job offerings. You can look there. There are the actual job offerings, and generally before the conferences, which for AFM and EMAC in May, you can submit your application, and you can then meet on the conference different universities which are offering jobs. AMA, so as I said, it's American Marketing Association, so Journal of Marketing Research and Journal of Marketing, so both A+ journals. This opens you, if you're open to the US market, it makes absolutely sense to submit a paper to AMA, because there again you have sessions, job market sessions, and these job market sessions opens you the market to American, so US and Canadian and even Latin American universities. So it's very important for that. And second, if you want to publish in Journal of Marketing and Journal of Marketing Research, actually it's a question of network. So you will meet there the editors of chief or the regional editors, who will see you, will identify you, locate you, and to come into these absolutely top journals, you need a network. So it makes absolutely sense also to go to AMA, because there, you open your career to US journals. This is the same for AMS. It's another community, Academy of Marketing Science. They have also conference, so they are editing Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science, which is, as I said, also an A journal. Again, a conference is to publish, naturally. A conference is to publish preliminary work, that is, you can submit work that is not completely finished, which gives you feedback, because you present, you will have feedback from the people who are in the room listening to you, and this enables you to improve your paper, to submit it then to a journal. For example, at AFM REM or at EMAC IGRM. And this is also, you know that there are also the editors of chief in the sessions where you present. So sometimes if you have a good paper, you might be asked by the editor of chief, you can submit your paper to IGRM. The idea is also to get identified and to improve your paper, to submit it to a journal, because actually an academic paper at a conference is not the final target. The final target is to get published in the journal. But for you as a young researcher, I can reassure you, if you're doing a cumulative thesis, a paper-based thesis, the doctoral school are accepted conference papers, that is, papers that are published in conference proceedings. So we do not expect that you publish immediately in top journals. It's a question of several years to publish in these top journals, but a conference paper is the basis for a publication in a top journal. So you start publishing at a conference. This is accepted from the doctoral school for your PhD, and subsequently, or even during the PhD, you can try to get published in a journal. There are other conferences, but they're not very relevant for you. For example, in finance, you have the equivalent AFI, it's for France, EFA, it's European Finance Association, but as you're all students in marketing, I don't develop these conferences for human resources, for strategic management, for accounting, and for finance. In summary, all these conferences are sponsored by TSM Research. All these conferences are the good conferences. You cannot go physically to all these conferences because it's a question of time, but it's also a question of budget. So that is why the politics at TSM Research is to sponsor 2 conferences a year, which means that you have to do a selection. The selection has to be done with your targets. If you want to do an international career, if you are interested in the American market, and if you attracted by the US market, then I would recommend you to do AMA, AMS. If you're more Europe orientated, I would recommend you EMAC. And if you're France orientated, EAFM. Generally, PhD students, they aimed more the European market. So they went to the AFM conference and the EMAC conference. This is about the choice of the conferences. What is important? There are important deadlines. The deadlines are generally for AFM and for EMAC in the beginning of December. For the AMA conference, the deadlines are something like February for the summer conference and August for the winter conference. There are 2 conferences. One happens in February and the other happens in August. But the best is to look at the AMA website to see the deadlines and the locations, and also to see the conference formats. Since I would really recommend you to have a look at these websites. On the other hand, you will see there also the hot topics, because in research, all the associations are elaborating hot topics of research and marketing. For example, at the moment, hot topics are actually technologies, artificial intelligence, IoT, customer experience, customer journey. So if you want to submit a paper, pay attention to the deadlines, because you cannot submit after these dates. So you have to plan your publication in terms of these deadlines. And when you defend your master thesis, it will be next year in June. You have something like 4 months to elaborate a conference paper, because you have to fine-tune your master thesis, because your master thesis will have something like 50, 60 pages. So you have to cut down your master thesis to 6 pages, because the format at the conference is 6 pages. So it's a difficult job to cut down. And this is what you will do generally with your PhD supervisor to cut down your thesis. That's for that. So let's come back to the submission and to the conference presentation. The conference presentation is very short. So one session is in general lasts 1 hour and a half, and there will be 3 presenters. You have 30 minutes. So you have only 10 minutes, 10 maximum 15 minutes to present. So the first recommendation is you have to be really short. So you have to present ideally in 10 minutes, which is followed by 10 minutes of questions, 10 to 20 minutes. I repeat, what is the aim of the conference? For you, it's a publication. Sure, that's important because it counts for your paper-based PhD. But it's above all also a location of discussion. You have probably understood that a lot of advancements come through discussions. So we're talking a lot as researchers, and the more you talk, the more you present, the more you get feedback, and the more you can improve your work. And that is why it makes no sense to present, even if you have 30 minutes, to make a presentation of 30 minutes, because nobody can then answer you. And by the way, you will be cut, because there's a session chair who will cut you after, depends. If he says to you 10 minutes, then he will cut you after 10 minutes. And you have some paper boards on which he will show you, okay, still 5 minutes left, 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. And after that minute, he will say, okay, stop, we'll stop here. And I've already seen presentations where, unfortunately, the presenter could not go to the end, and the main message went not through. So that is why it's really important to say less is more. So yeah, I will show you in some instance what you have to present. But in general, for 10 minutes, yeah, it's not more than 10 slides, because if not, it will be too long. You can put things in the back data appendix on which you can come on if you have questions, but you don't have to go into much detail because 10 minutes is very short. And this is also aligned with the 6 pages conference paper that you submit. In the conference 6 pages, you cannot put everything. So it's only extended abstract of your paper. And that is why it's important to be very short. So that said, so important to leave time for questions and discussions which enable you to advance. So that is why be concise, be clear, less is more, as I said, and very important as you're representing your institution. So if you do the PhD with TSM research, then use the templates, the PowerPoint templates TSM research is giving to you because you represent like corporate identity. So don't do any fantastic PowerPoint presentation. Use the templates the doctoral school is giving to you as you're representing your institution. Okay, any questions before I advance? What is the structure? The structure is always like the articles you're reading at the moment. You've probably understood that the articles are always structured in the same way. That is, you have a title, you have the authors. So this is also what you present. You have one slide with the title of your presentation, of your paper, and the authors. So generally, it's you as a main author, and your co-authors, which might be perhaps other PhD students, or mostly your supervisor. So you put there the names, title of the presentation, names of the authors, title of the authors, and the affiliation. That is, for example, TSM research or the university you are working for. And this is not only valid for as a PhD student. When you change later to another university, you clearly put always, you use the templates and always put in front the affiliation of your university. So this is the first slide. The second slide is you start with the context and the introduction. Here is tell an actual story. So the more you can introduce your presentation with photos or with statistics about showing that your topic is relevant. And so, for example, if your topic is about IoT, you can show evaluation of market figures, how the market of IoT or AI is evolving. You can show what are the investments of firms into, for example, chatbots. What are the investments in CRM software? So all these figures are important to show the importance. So you have to give the people who look at your presentation, you have to be interesting. It should show immediately, very quickly, why it is interesting or why your research is interesting. And this is also what you have to do when you're writing your master's or your PhD. The introduction is very important because it clearly shows why your research is actual, why it corresponds to an actual problem in management. And above all, you have to show also clearly what is your contribution. As in your master's thesis, you have to clearly write, we contribute to the literature or to practice by showing that blah, 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 blah. So this is what you have to show clearly in on the first slide. Or the first two slides. An actual example, we worked about privacy concerns. And so we often started our presentation with actual figures about hackings and how privacy data was exploited, how it was stolen. So all these actual examples, how Google, for example, or how Facebook betrayed Facebookers. So people being on Facebook, you remember the Cambridge Analytica scandal. So by showing actual example coming from managerial press, you can show very quickly what is important, why your topic is important. And second, by showing by one or two statements how and why you contribute to literature. Then you do a short literature review. You don't have to show the full literature review. Generally, you show your hypothesis or research questions ideally perhaps even with a conceptual model that summarizes the whole literature and your links that you hypothesize. A graphical model with hypothesis, or also called conceptual model with hypothesis, is a good idea and can quickly summarize your research questions. We will see sometimes presenters present hypothesis by hypothesis on endless slides. I think it's not a good idea because people don't retain really in detail your hypothesis. If they want to see your hypothesis in detail, then they can read your conference paper. So the idea is to give them more an overview about your questions and then very quickly show them fourth chapter, the data and the methodology, that is which data did you use for your survey, and second, what method, so for example, structural equation modeling, you used to analyze the data. There again, don't spend too much time because, for example, all this data about if you're using surveys with questionnaires, so all these tables, you don't show them in their presentation. These tables should be put in the back data or appendix. If somebody has some questions or some concerns about these very technical points, you can still switch through and show these tables at the end if somebody in the auditorium has a special question. But if no question comes, it's too technical to show it in an oral presentation. That is why I only show in the data and methodology section sample sizes. So you explain this in the methodology, you give some rough statistics, but without going into detail. So this is also a slide on which you can go through very quickly. Point 5, results section is the most important one because there you show your results. There I would also recommend you to present the results in, under form of a figure. If you have developed a conceptual model on point 3, then I would recommend you to show the same conceptual graphical model with the hypothesis numbers and the regression coefficients or the structural equation coefficients. And you can then easily show to the auditorium the results. If you don't have a graphical conceptual model, then show a table. If you have a lot of figures, perhaps you might show only the main hypothesis. This might also sometimes make sense to show only the main hypothesis, because if you have 20 hypotheses, first of all, in one paper, 20 hypotheses is too much. And second, nobody will understand. And always keep in your mind, less is more. You want to pass a message. What should be the main message of your presentation? If you have too much or too many hypotheses, don't present them all. So be clear and short again. And then another important point is the discussion of the results, where you put your results in line with literature. In other words, you come back to your literature review and you show the similarities, how you're in line with literature, that you're confirming links which have already been confirmed in literature, or if you have different links or relationships, then you explain, or you have to explain why you have different links or different relationships. So that's also a very important slide. Then before you end, you have to show again and repeat again, what is your contribution? So you have to show what is your theoretical contribution, what do you bring to theory. This is also what you already have said in point 2 in the introduction. If you have done a methodological contribution, you have to point out the methodology that you have improved, for example. And above all, what do you bring to manager, to practice? What is your manager contribution? So it's very important there to show clearly what are the contributions of your paper. And you finish as in a research article and also in your thesis with the limits and future research recommendations. Then you show that, for example, our sample is not representative. We have only student samples, so it would make sense to do the survey again with a representative national sample. We did the survey only in France, so it would be recommended to do the survey in US or in developing country and in Asia. So this might be one limit, or you used only regression or ANOVA, so it would make sense to use more sophisticated modeling approach. So for future research, that would make sense. Or you have not integrated all concepts you wanted because the model was too complicated. So your recommendation would be to enhance your model by other concepts, other variables which are relevant, other moderators, or perhaps also other mediators. And then you're finished. So after 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes maximum. And then you put into the appendix or the backdata all information you judge as useful. So this is general. These are general slides you don't present. You only present them if there are very precise questions. For example, the questions about validity. Which scales did you use? So if you have to show the items of a given scale, how did you measure satisfaction? How did you measure engagement? How did you measure empowerment? So you can show there the scales with the individual items. You can show their validity results, so the discriminant and convergent validity. You have to show the reliability results, for example, the Cronbach alphas. So all this information should be shown there. You could also put there some backdata about literature, because as I said, your literature review should be quite rough, quite short. So if you're not really familiar, if you're struggling a bit with the definitions, then it can help you to answer. In order to avoid that you cannot answer, you can show the slide with a precise definition you can give for a given concept. The appendix or backdata is there to support you when questions come from the public. In most cases, these questions are never asked, but to be sure, in order not to be in difficulty or to struggle when somebody is asking you a question, I would recommend you to put there as much data as possible coming naturally from your conference paper, in which you show the details of your study, the complete representation of your sample. So all this information might be interesting or can be asked, can be questioned by the people who are listening to you. I show you an example to support what I just explained you. I present you a conference paper I presented 5 years ago at EMAC. It's a paper I wrote together with some co-authors, Andreas Munzel, Jean-Philippe Gallon. The name is Too Many Friends, the effects of online social network size and intimacy on happiness through social capital. That's the title of the paper. So some context, as I said to you, it's always good to give some actual figures, and it could be a cartoon, it could be music, it could be a video. If you want to show a technology in action, it could be a video. So we decided to start with a song, because our research is about friends, about the tension between having too many friends, because on Facebook we have a lot of friends, most of them we don't know them. The idea is, what is the impact of friends on our well-being and happiness? If the number of friends increases, does it impact positively or negatively the happiness through a concept which is called social capital? We started with a Beatles song, A Little Help from Friends, in 1967. So we played the song in our presentation, and one of the main statements of the song is, "Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends." And so friends were always important, so the concept is not new, but the idea of friends is changing today, and that is why we took a second song to introduce our research. Took the song of Placebo, Too Many Friends. I got too many friends, too many people that I will never meet and I would never be there for. So the idea is actually that formerly we had friends, but our friends in the real world. Today we have a lot of friends, but we mostly don't even know them. And the idea is, how do these friends on Facebook impact actually happiness and well-being through the social network? And we put some actual figures, as you can see here. At the time we did the study, in average, Facebookers had 130 friends on Facebook, and there were 1.3 billion of monthly active users. And so we started with a short music. We started with also some definitions. What are friends on social? NNS is social network sites. What is a social network sites? These are bidirectionally connected contacts, being able to view each other's profiles and posts. Friendships on SNS include a wide range of online connections, which are clearly close friends, and so family members, school friends, but also loser friends. Loser friends which we met on online or which we never met, or people we don't know. And this was also in the context of the Nescafé social campaign in France, where they asked to go to friends on Facebook and to ask them to have a coffee with them. There are actually very few friends with which you could take a coffee, which shows that most of our friends, or would call it rather relationships, are loose relationships with which we cannot take a coffee. And actually, yeah, most of them, you can see on the statement, I have almost 800 friends on Facebook, but only hang out with a handful of them in real life. Isn't that bizarre? Who are these 790 friends of mine? When's the last time we actually hang out? Do I even know them? If I don't, why would I want them to know me? So that's actually the problem of social media. So again, an example about the relevance of our topic. That said, so we have introduced the topic by playing the music of the Beatles, a little bit Friends, and the song 50 years later by Placebo, Too Many Friends on social media. So once the topic is posed, we have now do a short literature review. So in our title, we talked about the impact of social capital on happiness. So the first definition we gave in the presentation is what is social capital. So the idea of social capital is that social networks have value. So capital is value. Where does this value comes from? So social capital is an aggregate of actual or potential resources of humans, which are linked to the possession of durable network of relationships, of mutual acquaintance and recognition. This is Bourdieu, this is his definition. You can distinguish between community level social capital based in a collectivity, it's a collective asset, but we rather focus, and on Facebook we are more on individual social capital, which is how the question is how individuals invest in social relations. And there are two types of social capital. First, bonding social capital, which is intragroup and exclusive social capital with close friends, close links, family members, or real friends. And you have bridging social capital, which is intergroup capital, inclusive, which means is which are loose friends. So from the 800 friends in my example we have on Facebook, we have perhaps 10 bonding social capitals, and we have 790 bridging social. So the idea was really what is more valued, what brings more for the happiness, which type of social capital makes Facebookers or social network people more happy. That said, we have given a definition about social network sites, which are providing interpersonal interactions to build social relations through the development of social capital, clearly bridging and bonding capital, and which should have a positive effect on social activity, on mental and physical well-being. And there is a short literature review. So in our presentation, I have here a table. I would not recommend to go too much in detail, but we quickly showed that, okay, there are only few studies studying really the impact of social capital on well-being. So yeah, at the time we had 6. Most of them were done with students. So there's a first research gap. So it's not a representative sample. And actually we found, or the literature concludes that overall social capital is an antecedent of well-being. So the more social capital we have, the more we feel well, the happier we are in our life. That is our basis, our theoretical basis of our hypothesis. From literature, we identified the following gaps and contributions. Most studies studied only bonding capital, but we included bridging and bonding social capital. Most studies included no intimacy, how close friends are on Facebook. So we created an intimacy index and a closeness index between Facebook friends in order to see what finally brings more in terms of happiness, close friends, so our real friends, family members on Facebook, or loose friends, that is people we don't really know. And this is the idea, which of these parts of social capital brings more. And by studying both bridging and bonding social capital, our contribution is to study both. And we bring new outcome variable, happiness and well-being. Most studies don't focus on happiness and well-being. There are only 5 studies focusing on that. So we introduce new and few investigated dependent variables. So this brings me to our conceptual model and hypothesis. And so, as I said, less is more. So we presented a very short and easy conceptual model with our antecedents. And so the intimacy, the closer we are with friends, we should have a positive impact on bonding social capital, but this should have a negative impact on bridging social capital. There's the network size. There on the other side, there should be the bigger the size of our network on Facebook, the more we should have impact on bonding social capital, but also on bridging capital, social capital. Both are mediating variables and should positively impact then subsequently happiness of Facebookers and subsequently the impact of Facebook on well-being. There should be positive impact of both facets of capital, social capital, on happiness and well-being, and happiness is a mediating variable on well-being. The target of our research was also to see what impacts more happiness and well-being: close friends or close relationships, that is bonding social capital, or loose friends, that is bridging social capital. To study that, we have done an investigation with a representative panel, Research Now. So we used the following concept, calculated an intimacy index based off Manaugo and colleagues. We asked for the size of the number of Facebook friends in order to calculate the size of the network. And we had two scales to measure bonding and bridging capital coming from Williams, so with 4 items. So for example, for social bonding capitals, we have 1 item. Among my Facebook friends, there are several people I trust to help solve my problems from. Another item was, for example, among my Facebook friends, there are people I could ask for money if I need money. And for example, the bridging capital, we measured it with interacting with my Facebook friends makes me interested in what people, unlike me, are thinking. Happiness, we measured this with a scale from Niedermeyer, 5 items. For example, I feel happy with Facebook. Facebook well-being, we had also scale with 6 or 7 items. For example, Facebook makes me feel less lonely in my life. But if you are interested more in the scales, we can have a closer look on it at the end of the presentation, because I have a detailed view on the items in the appendix. The study was done in 2014 with 1,161 representative Facebook users. The average age is 33. We've seen that actually there's no effective agenda on the number of friends. And so in other words, between men and women, there's no difference. You can also see there's a negative effect on age on the number of friends. The older we get, the less we have friends on Facebook. So we lose with every year of age 3.40 Facebook friends when growing 1 year older. And we use structural equation modeling to analyze the data. Let's have a look on the results. There's a positive impact of intimacy on bonding capital as we hypothesize. On the other hand, the more we are close or intimate with our friends, there's a negative impact on bridging social capital. The size has a significant positive impact on bonding and bridging capital. And you can see there's a significant impact of bonding capital on happiness, but not on well-being. So there's only a mediating impact. So happiness has a mediating impact between bonding capital and Facebook impact on well-being. So it's enhancing the impact of bonding capital. There's also a positive impact and significant impact on happiness through bridging, and much higher on Facebook. Bridging capital, that is loose relationships, increase much more happiness and well-being than close relationships, that is bonding social capital. In summary, I find in our discussion the importance of the social network size. So it's consistent with existing research. So we support the impact of number of Facebook friends on bridging and social bonding capital. So it's in line with literature. The role of intimacy to enhance bonding capital is important, but hinders bridging social capital. So this link was so far neglected in the literature. So it's our main contribution. Show the impact of bridging social capital on impact, which is more important than bonding capital. So it's an important research issue because we show for the first time that Facebook bridging is more important than bonding capital on happiness and subsequently well-being.
Our limitations, as no research is perfect, there are also some limits. The first limit is the categorization of friends to build an intimacy index. The use of perceived intimacy and closeness as a variable, for example, emotional intimacy, would be a good research direction. The second limit is that we did not use potential moderators, for example, the effects of Facebook usage on the model, or the user's motivations to use Facebook, and to do a cluster and multi-group analysis. And finally, the effects of personality, for example, extraversion, neuroticism on Facebook use would be an interesting research outlook. Future research could include well-being as a determinant of Facebook use, or one could also include threats for well-being through Facebook use, because we did not use social influences, addiction, envy, and cyberbullying, which could be decrease happiness and well-being on Facebook. So it would be really interesting to work on these topics, which are highly relevant today with cyberbullying. And finally, the role of privacy concerns, as we give a lot of data on Facebook, would be also interesting to study, to see if these privacy concerns decrease well-being and happiness created by Facebook use. So in a nutshell, the conclusion is between placebo, the Beatles, Nescafe, and virtual relationships, which are the implications for marketers. The company's worldwide advertising spending on Facebook achieves in 2019 $67 billion, representing already 15% of share of global digital spending, advertising spending. So you can see that, but the satisfaction of marketers with achieved business value of Facebook advertising is still low. So I can say that bonding social capital plays a subordinate role on Facebook as compared to bridging capital. The good news for marketers is that users are interested in learning new things, to know what's in, easier access for and acceptation of brands. From social network theory, weak ties will help to diffuse information and advertising messages through social media, and use of viral marketing to spread messages and ideas. So this is the conclusion of our research, which gives important input to advertisers and marketers. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy to answer your question. If you want more information, you can contact me on the below shown email address.
And then, as I said, you have your backup, I have my scales. So you see here the different items of all measurement scales with the convergent and discriminant validity. So for happiness, for well-being, you have it here for bonding. How did we measure bonding and bridging capital, again with our validity and reliability indicators. We have here the discriminant validity. If I come back to my presentation, actually where I have one slide for the context in order to show the managerial impact of our research, in which we introduce some songs, but you can use also videos or pictures if you want, or statistics. So I have a short literature review, so 2 pages, then gaps and contributions, conceptual model with the hypothesis, the methodology, the results, discussion of results, limitations, future research directions, and the manager contributions.
This was about how to present a conference paper at an academic conference. I hope that you understood what are the important facts. So first of all, it's important to choose the right conference which fits with your research, the scope of your research. Then it's important to understand and to see the deadlines where you have to submit your conference paper. And then it's important how to structure the conference, which is structured like an article, like a thesis with different chapters. It's important to be concise and short, and to hold within 10 to 5 minutes in order to leave time to the people in the room who are listening to you to ask you questions and to make you advance on your research. I'm happy now to answer all your questions you have about conferences, about research, and whatever else.